Do you feel at all guilty today that you continue to collect child support from a guy that isn't the DNA father?
No, not really. He wants to be a jerk to me, I can be a jerk right back.
A Colorado man forced to pay child support for a kid that isn't his. The DNA test that doesn't matter under state law. Thanks for staying with us tonight. I'm Jeremy Hubbard.
And I'm Aristea Brady. Tonight, Fox 31 Denver problem solver Rob Lowe looks at a child custody case that seems to defy common sense. So, Rob, the big question, how can the courts force a man to pay child support if both sides agree he is not the biological father?
Because his name is on the birth certificate, and in Colorado, what's on the birth certificate matters more than what a DNA test later reveals, matters more than what the ex-wife acknowledges, or even the fact that the real biological father exists and visits the kid.
Dustin, you are the father.
Maury Povich has made a career out of revealing DNA test results, but sometimes whose DNA fathered a child doesn't matter in the eyes of the law.
And when Lori told me she was pregnant, we were dating not very long. I tried to do the right thing.
The right thing, to Chris Atkins back in 2000, was to marry Lori Lonnquist. And when their daughter was born, it's his name, Chris Allen Atkins, that went on the birth certificate. By the time their daughter was 2.5, the couple divorced.
We had a lot of fun together. My little bug.
Chris still enjoyed visitation, but when the girl turned 11, he says Lori wanted to change the girl's last name because Lori was getting remarried. He refused, it got heated, and he says Lori told him their daughter wasn't really his anyway.
So, alarms went off and we had a DNA test done. And she's not my biological daughter that I raised for 11 years.
This is the DNA test that proves Chris does not share genetic markers with the girl. And this is the judge who refused to accept the test as evidence. You might recognize Carlos Samore Jr. from the Aurora Theater shooting case. Chris Atkins tried to represent himself at court, which never works out well since most lay people don't know the rules for introducing evidence. When he finally came back to court with an attorney to file an appeal, his appeal was denied. The judge basically said, you already had your bite at the apple.
I just want my daughter, but I can't even see her. But yet I'm still paying child support. And the biological father has been found. And he gets to spend time with her. I don't get nothing.
Chris Atkins hasn't seen his daughter in 4 years because he says courts refuse to enforce visitation. But they do enforce child support, deducting $250 out of every paycheck plus $114 for her health insurance, for a total of $730 every month. Is it greedy of you to continue to collect child support from him when he's not the biological father and he has no role in her life?
Maybe, but I don't feel bad about it. I really don't.
Lori Lonnquist says Chris abandoned their daughter when he found out the girl wasn't his biologically. Chris denies that, saying Lori would no longer facilitate visits.
I asked him to give up his parental rights, and he won't do it because everything he wants to do is piss me off and upset me. That's it.
If he gave up his parental rights, would you stop collecting the child support from him?
Absolutely. And I've told him that.
She'll stop taking child support if he agrees to terminate his parental rights. Is that easy enough for him to do?
No. It's very rare that a court will ever allow someone to terminate their parental rights.
Ron Litvak is a family law attorney who says what Lori proposes, no court would accept, unless
somebody else is willing to step into that role, the court's not usually going to do that.
Meaning a new name on the birth certificate and someone willing to pay the child support.
So it's a three-ring circus. There's got to be someone willing to step in. She's got to be willing to have that person step in. And then, of course, the guy who's been designated the father on the birth certificate has to be willing to step out.
Meet Logan Doolin, the third ring in our circus, the real DNA dad, who since learning he had a daughter 4 years ago, visits her about once a month, but doesn't pay a dime in child support. Logan declined to sit down and interview with us, but when I met him, he made it clear he has no intention of paying child support if he doesn't have to. Logan told me he doesn't think it's fair Chris has to pay child support, but said, quote, on the flip side, if I would have to pay child support, that would be messed up too. Why didn't you ever seek child custody from the biological father?
Because he has his own family. He has his own life.
But isn't it his responsibility to provide child support for your daughter?
I don't think that's fair to come on to somebody when they didn't know for 14 years or 11 years that they didn't have a kid and say, hey, by the way, you're going to pay child support for a kid that you didn't know was yours.
But it's fair to make him pay child support for a kid that we know isn't his?
Yes, because his name is on the birth certificate. That is the law.
The law has left Chris Atkins bitter. He says give him visitation with a girl he still considers his daughter in his heart, or let him walk away without paying child support. But Atkins says he has the worst of both worlds.
You know, I went to court and I said, I'm not seeing my daughter, but I'm still paying. He says, well, what do you want me to do, arrest her? I said, yes, sir, I do. You know, something. He said, it's out of my hands.
Are you the one taking advantage by continuing to collect child support, knowing he's not the true biological father?
Maybe so, but that's also not on me. My kid doesn't want to see him. She wants nothing to do with him.
Sounds like you're having your cake and eating it too.
Probably.
Chris Atkins recently asked for his child support to be lowered since he says he makes just 60% of what he made years ago when the child support was first established. But Arapahoe County denied his request a few weeks ago. Rob Lowe, Fox 31 Denver.
What a mess, Rob. You can't help but think about that little girl.
Yeah, she's the one that's really losing out in all this. Coming